Hello and a Merry Christmas to you. Welcome to Foreign Dispatches. I'm Teniola Shoboale. On the program this week, it's all about Christmas. We travel the world to see how countries are celebrating this year amid the COVID-19 pandemic. We begin in the United Kingdom, where most of the country is in a strict lockdown and several countries have banned travel to and from the UK due to a new variant of the coronavirus. As a result, millions of people have had to cancel their Christmas plans. Our London correspondent, Juliana Olayinka, tells us more.
For millions of Britons across the country, this festive season is anything but merry. On Saturday afternoon, the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced a series of stricter coronavirus restrictions, tightening rules around household mixing that were due to be relaxed so that loved ones can spend time with their families.
Given the early evidence we have on this new variant of the virus, the potential risk it poses, it is with a very heavy heart, I must tell you, we cannot continue with Christmas as planned.
Almost immediately after this last-minute U-turn, hundreds of Londoners were pictured trying to leave the capital, desperate to get home to loved ones in time for Christmas. Unfortunately for some, there were no trains available online from several London stations, including Paddington, King's Cross and Euston. According to England's Chief Medical Officer, Professor Chris Whitty, a newly identified variant of COVID-19 can spread more quickly than previous strains of the virus and is responsible for 60% of infections in London, which have nearly doubled in the last week. Due to the significant rise of positive cases, 16 million people have been plunged into Tier 4 restrictions, which has led to the closure of the hospitality sector, as well as the closure of non-essential stores, a crippling blow to an economy already reeling from a summer recession.
I'm here on Oxford Street, which is in the famed West End of central London. Just a week ago, this place was absolutely jam-packed with tens of thousands of people out wining and dining with their loved ones. And most importantly, for the British economy, they were spending money in the run-up to Christmas. But if you have a look at it now, it's practically a ghost town and a visual reminder of how drastically and quickly Britain's COVID-19 crisis has escalated. It's Christmas, but unfortunately for millions of people across this country, the festive season has effectively been cancelled.
Despite hopes of inoculation, Britain's COVID crisis is far from over. The headache has now spilled over to British ports and airports, as more than 60 countries across the world have closed their borders to British passengers. Sources close to Downing Street suggest a third national lockdown is imminent. Juliana Olayinka reporting for Foreign Dispatches in London.
Meanwhile, over in South Africa, with increasing COVID-19 cases, there's no doubt that things are different this year. The impact of the pandemic has not been lost on the Maboneng precinct in central Johannesburg, famous for being a melting pot of art, culture and people from different parts of the world. Scenes from many local movies were shot there. We visited Maboneng to see just how much things have changed this Christmas.
I pity you and envy myself as I break the rules and I surface through the room and leave people thinking I'm cool. Nice style, practically created by your freestyle and nice smile. All the way from Beige, you indigo child. Whoever thought you'd fall in love with rapping on alone?
This is Maboneng, a Sesotho word for the place of light, famous for the very colorful wall art, street food, arts and culture, as well as exciting gatherings. But it's become a shadow of itself thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're here to see just how much that light has dimmed this Christmas. Many movie scenes have been shot in this famous precinct. It draws a lot of crowd from near and far. In normal times, a melting pot of arts, culture and peoples from all walks of life. But the COVID pandemic has changed things.
Maboneng before COVID. Maboneng was a beautiful place before COVID. It was a place for artists to express themselves, I feel. Without even knowing it, like subconsciously, people came here to like express themselves and show their art and sell their crafts to people. And within Corona times, it became more business conducted place. So that means, I wouldn't say corporate places, but restaurants and everything boomed more than what's on the streets, which is a bad thing for people like us because I love the streets. Less people have been coming to Maboneng on a daily basis, but coming on weekends. So the culture has changed and went back to what it was, because Maboneng was necessarily a Sunday place. So the culture has moved back to weekends. But changes, not much really. It's just digital networks working now, because a lot of restaurants work with Uber Eats and all those things. So yeah, things have become more digital nowadays.
Dotted around Maboneng are curio, fashion and art shops, eateries specializing in street soul food, stages for many wild parties in years past. To many of these businesses, it's been a tough year. Ngululeko Mhlanga told us just how tough the COVID-19 pandemic has made things.
There are no more much tourists coming in. So we are relying on domestic tourism. And the buying power of domestic tourists is very low. Like long back we could get people from the UK who were taking the advantage of the conversion rate between the pound and the rand. So they used to buy more from us. So now, since there is now lockdown, we've tried to keep our business afloat and decreased the prices so that we can accommodate the domestic market.
There's less people, less tourists, so there is a bit of a difference, and I think the atmosphere is also a little bit depressed, I would say. But generally speaking, yeah, these are the things that I have noticed.
Against the odds, some are still managing to stay afloat. You can get a photo shoot for 20 rand, and pictures will be sent to your phone. For James Mtsweni, who runs the popular Sharp Braai, a barbecue restaurant, it's worse for some than others, depending on what business you're into.
I still fairly braai. I can't say maybe we are actually stuck in that way of being stuck like other businesses. Depending on what you do, it might be COVID, but people still want to eat at some point. But yeah, I think it's pretty fair. I can't say it's too bad.
Now it's quite gaining its strength from way back. But during the pandemic lockdown, it was a bit slow. Just people were afraid of coming to Maboneng, as us we were afraid of also coming here.
While Maboneng and all those who converge on it hope this Christmas would be a brighter time than the rest of the year, the current COVID numbers being recorded in the country is spelling gloom as a likely return to some level of harder lockdown looms. From Maboneng, central Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia for Foreign Dispatches.
Let's head over to the United States now, the country worst affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. While health and safety recommendations limiting contact with others is in effect across much of the country, our Washington, D.C. correspondent, Maria Bird, says the Christmas cheer is still alive.
The Christmas holiday in the United States has not stopped. People are not out on the streets, but the Christmas holiday spirit is still in full effect.
Before this symbol of peace and hope, to give thanks for the blessings bestowed upon our great nation. And we do so, we say a prayer for all who cannot celebrate with the comfort of their friends and families around them, but for those who have lost their lives and livelihood this year. 3, 2, 1.
Just as many national Christmas traditions are continuing in the U.S. with various COVID restrictions, U.S. travel for Christmas is reaching close to record numbers as many Americans take COVID precautions and host family gatherings, while other Americans are following CDC guidelines and refraining from seeing family and friends.
Just as so many other people over the world, the pandemic has affected how my family is celebrating the holidays this year. Listen, safety is our top priority. And so instead of having like the big family gatherings with the food and the games, we've all decided to follow the guidelines set by our public health officials and celebrate with the people who we live with. Honestly, this will be hard and it will be different, but we want to make sure that all of our loved ones are alive next year. So we are making the sacrifice this year to ensure that we can all come back together next year safely.
2020 has been such a crazy year, and to close out the year, I need to celebrate with my family and be close to the ones who I love. We're keeping it small this year. It's only 5 people. We've all been tested, and we're all staying safe and making sure that no one else comes into our circle, and that we can celebrate and be good and have great time together as a family, because we deserve it after the year that has been 2020.
Despite the pandemic, many people are still finding ways to join in with family and friends during the holiday season. From Washington, Maria Bird, Channels Television News.
Christmas may be different for 2020, but spirits are still running high in the UAE. Gingerbread replicas of Dubai's iconic buildings adds cheer to this year's festivities. After a tough year, creators of the pastry installations say it's all to bring hope. Mayowa Adegoke tells us all about it.
The hunt for the latest attractions across the city is on. At the heart of the H in Dubai, this 16-feet tall gingerbread installation is giving hope to tourists and residents. Inspired by the world's tallest building, Burj Khalifa, which has its 163 floors standing at 2,716 feet, creators have been hard at work since October to get this replica ready for the Christmas season.
We thought about doing Sheikh Zayed Road like last year, but no. Today, this year is a special year, so we want something new, something special, full of hope. And Burj Khalifa is really an iconic tower, reason why we choose this building. We also thought about Expo 2020, 2021, the metro, etc. And then we were running out of time and said, okay, let's do this.
250 hours, over 50 kilograms of flour and 30 kilograms of sugar later, a team of 8 chefs got the job done.
It's 4 levels. The base, it takes like 3-4 days for the plan, and then we stick it start one by one, level by level. Each cookies we join together with royal icing. So it's made from the cookies and royal icing itself, and they will stack each other. So we build one by one until get right.
2020 has been a hard year, no thanks to COVID-19, and with millions of people still infected globally, anything to bring hope for the coming year 2021 is welcome.
Yeah, it's happiness, it's festive, it's joy, it's families, it's being all together around something that we believe we're gonna go through. It's as well gastronomy, and it's gourmandise in French we say. And it's playful, and we want to be entertained. I think we need to breathe and have fun. So yeah, it's a good symbol, I think.
It's amazing what the guys did, and it's great to see this tower with those ice and Christmas trees and everything. It's just perfect.
In another part of town, 4,600 pieces of gingerbread are stacked to recreate another iconic monument, the Dubai frame.
The frame, so it's called the symbol of hope and prosperity. And I think we're coming all from quite a difficult year, right? And all we need is really hope, and we need to look forward to the future in a very positive way.
At 15 feet high, this installation took a team of 20, over 1,500 hours to make, from concept to delivery, and even needed the help of structural engineers.
Our hotel has an engineering department. They have our colleagues who knows that supposed to sustain a structure long enough or tall enough and to be stable in the lobby, and in the safety wise has to be proper. So they assisted us with the basic support with the designing the frame. And then once it was somewhere close to our expectation and their way of working, and then it came up like that.
I think after what we've been this year, which has been really tough, from lockdowns to not being able to probably spend time with our families or friends the way we used to, little things really matter the most, and especially during this time of the year.
Creators say they won't be sharing these cookies to members of the public for hygiene and safety reasons, and plan to remove the installations after the festive season. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Mayowa Adegoke for Foreign Dispatches.
You're still watching Foreign Dispatches on Channels Television. Near the wreckage of Beirut's port, a charity is bringing Christmas cheer to a city hammered by a devastating explosion, rising coronavirus infections, and the worst economic crisis since Lebanon's 1975 to 1990 civil war.
The Solidarity Christmas Village, decked out with flashing fairy lights and glittering trees, has been offering visitors free entry to watch concerts and pick up drinks and snacks, lifting the mood of families who can't afford seasonal luxuries. People dressed in giant polar bear costumes and others in Santa Claus outfits offer some festive spirit to a country that's a patchwork of Christian and Muslim sects.
We want to live. We need to make our children happy. We need them to live because this is life. Even if we're tired and the living situation is tiring, we don't have to expose our children to this. No, I want to make him happy and make him feel the holiday spirit.
Opera singer Elias Francis says despite everything that happened this year, there's hope.
No matter how negative things are around us, like the coronavirus, there is still a glimmer of hope. This holiday is very dear to all Lebanese, especially Christians. It is the birth of a new hope, a new life.
The Christmas village is set up in a temporary warehouse near Beirut's port, flattened by a huge explosion on August the 4th, which also ruined large parts of the capital. Over 170 people were killed in the blast and more than 6,000 were injured. Near the port's shattered entrance, an artist erected a towering Christmas tree, decorated not with shiny baubles, but with grimy protective clothing and hard hats worn by firefighters who had battled the blaze. The blast left tens of thousands homeless in a nation already crushed by a mountain of debt.
Over in Venezuela, the spirit of giving is also in the air. The charity Santa in the Streets has been giving children gifts ranging from bread to donated clothes and toys at a time when the country is struggling with the coronavirus pandemic and an economic collapse.
Venezuelans are once again celebrating Christmas in crisis as the OPEC nation completes a sixth year of recession and a third of hyperinflation that has destroyed spending power and fueled a mass migration. The non-profit group Santa in the Streets, which for 14 years has received donations of clothing and toys and given them to families and children in poor areas of the country, says this year, faced with a global crisis, families need more help.
The economic situation has been a bit rough because income has been very low and the country's situation has been terrible. But it's important to make an effort, keep working and spread joy to these children who deserve it so much, as well as adults.
We know there is a pandemic and we need to keep our distance, but people need a hug, a piece of bread, and to know you have someone who can keep you company and listen to you.
Venezuela's monthly minimum wage is equivalent to $1, which is barely enough to buy a kilo of rice. President Nicolas Maduro last year authorized the widespread use of dollars for the first time in 15 years, boosting commerce but also creating a growing gap between those with access to greenbacks and those making the local Bolivar currency.
Like many others in 2020, Santa is working a lot more from home. In the midst of social distancing and other precautions to slow the spread of the coronavirus, many Christmas festivities have been adjusted, and Santa visits are no exception. But that doesn't mean Father Christmas is taking the year off. Here's how various companies around the world are letting kids meet Santa during the pandemic while keeping them safe from COVID-19.
While kids around the world might not be able to meet Santa Claus in person this year, many companies have embraced technology as a way to bring festive cheer to children while maintaining coronavirus-safe social distancing.
Oh, how lovely to see you. How lovely. Oh, I'm going to wave as well. How lovely to see you. Hello, Bertie.
London events company Boo Productions is one of many companies offering children the chance to log on to meet Santa Claus instead of sitting on his knee.
This whole concept is amazing. And what better way for a child to be able to interact with Santa in such a challenging time, for any length of time, in the comfort of their own home.
U.S. company Storyfile has come up with an AI alternative, creating a website where children can ask Santa questions online instead, and the system algorithm replies with an appropriate answer.
Kids are all over the country and all over the world are not going to be able to sit on Santa's lap and talk to him and ask questions and have that experience for Christmas. So I said, who better to bring Santa to life, and all of these kids can ask him questions and talk to him and tell him what they want, than Storyfile.
Welcome to the Ministry of Fun Santa School 2020!
Entertainment company Ministry of Fun, which has been training Santas for over 25 years, created a Santa HQ, a virtual app for kids, and the company even ran special training classes for Santas on the new digital experience, helping them to practice making one-to-one video calls.
I feel this year we have to accept that Christmas is going to be a bit different. And that's why we've created the Santa HQ app. I'm not kind of thinking of it as a sort of second best thing at all. Because actually, children spend a long time looking at iPads and talking to their friends through their smartphones, etc., etc. So actually, for a child, meeting Father Christmas on a screen is actually quite a natural and normal thing.
In other parts of the world, Santa Claus has also met the challenges of the pandemic, including at a mall in Rio de Janeiro, where life-size video screen beams a behind-the-scenes Santa to visiting kids. And at a zoo in Denmark, Santa greets children from inside a COVID-secure giant snow globe.
While not everyone agrees Santa is the man needed to spread cheer this holiday season, one fan of fictional comic book superhero Batman believes he's the man for the job. Take a look.
28-year-old Bassem Ralph usually drives around his Cairo neighborhood in his custom-designed Batmobile, waving to passers-by and taking pictures with fellow fans. But this Christmas, with the coronavirus pandemic limiting traditional celebrations, Ralph has been handing out face masks to residents he finds along his usual route.
This year, we do not need Santa Claus. We need a legend, a character known around the world as a hero. We need this character in the streets to spread awareness. Gift giving this year should be masks and other materials with the aim of raising awareness.
In countries around the world, a spike of cases during the second wave has shut down the usual shops and holiday markets and forced millions to stay at home instead.
It's such a wonderful idea, especially since cases in Egypt are beginning to rise, and it's important for everyone in Egypt to start wearing masks and taking precaution.
Like many superfans around the world, Ralph had always dreamt of having his own Batmobile to drive around town, and says he often stops to allow others to take pictures of him and his customized vehicle.
Batman is a character who many around the world grew up knowing it as a good guy who fights evil. Both old and young people like him. I too love Batman and always had a dream growing up that I find a car similar to Batman's car. This was a dream of mine ever since I was young.
Egypt has so far recorded over 124,000 cases since the start of the pandemic, with more than 7,000 deaths.
Although this may not be the Christmas that was planned, we hope you're making the most of it and having a joy-filled holiday. Thank you so much for watching the program. I'm Teniola Shoboale, and once again, Merry Christmas.